Oh, hello, and welcome to episode 55 of Friends of the Show. I am Stephen W. Skinner, and this is a podcast where I get to talk with some of the funniest people I know. And this week's friend is a very nice and funny Canadian playwright and traveling performer. He has been a great question asker for this podcast, and many listeners will recognize that name. And I'm, of course, talking about at Llama in a Tux. It's Kevin. And he explains why Llama in a Tux. He talks about meeting up with Twitter friends like me and answers so many really great questions from our listeners like you. So I hope you enjoy Friends of the Show, episode 55 with Llama in a Tux. Kevin. Yeah, there's not really an intro for this season. Or is there? Remember this?
I do,
Remember
yes.
this little tune?
I remember, I forget who it was, but somebody with a British accent was like, "What a jaunty tune!" when it started playing.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite moments from season 1.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, when people are impressed by the podcast theme, it's off to a good start.
What a jaunty tune!
A nice tune. I think it was, and then on Suge Knight's episode, when we were wrapping it up, I started to play, and she said, "You're playing a funky beat over my wisdom?" That's one of my favorite quotes from season 1. Suge Knight.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was great. So I guess I should welcome you to the show. This week's friend of the show has been a great supporter of the podcast since it started, and I really appreciate it. Our guest this week is also very funny on Twitter. And get this, I actually met up with them in the real world. It's Kevin. I'm talking about Llama in a Tux at Llama in a Tux on Twitter. So welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be on this show. I have listened to it for a long time.
Long-time listener, first-time friend of the show. So yeah, it's great to have a long-time listener. So you'll know all the deep cuts, the inside jokes, all the podcast lingo.
Yeah, I'm very excited. This is very much like part of how I found Joke Twitter, how I stumbled across so many great accounts that I had not heard of was by listening to your show. So.
Oh, well, I'm really glad, because that is part of the point of the show, to get all my funny Twitter pals out there, and so everyone knows about them and all the great stuff that they're doing. So let's get into it. What great stuff are you doing?
Oh, man. Like online right now?
Yeah, you're doing a lot of stuff online. You're doing stuff IRL. Let's get to it. So what's taking up your time these days online?
Okay, so my brand right now is that I want to kill Peppa Pig. I'm not sure how that started, but that seems to be my go-to right now when I tweet.
Okay. This is a new development.
It is. I used to have this running gag that I had a girlfriend who had left me to date a snowman, and that was like probably every second day I would go back and I would tweet about that, and the people dug that for a while. And now more recently, it's been like far more violent than I'm accustomed to about a cartoon pig.
Well, yeah.
So,
how did it get started? Okay, so yeah, we should talk about that. How the transition happened. So back in the day, or I guess sort of maybe when you started, you were tweeting about. Are we talking about Catherine? Was that the person?
Yeah. So I had there's so many great accounts that are really consistent or really have like a theme they run with, a narrative they run with, and so I had in my mind that I would be this llama, physically a llama who wears a tuxedo, and I would tweet about my life. And so I had this whole character developed that he was in grade 11 in high school, dating this girl named Catherine, etc. And then, she left me to date a snowman. And so then all of my tweets kind of stuck to this narrative. And then she ended up leaving the snowman for a cook named Archie. And then maybe probably 6 months after that, then she got kidnapped by ostriches, and I was looking for her. But I found that I found it really hard to tweet only on that because there were so many other good jokes that would come to my mind that had nothing to do with ostriches or whatever. So eventually I just kind of ditched the Catherine thing, and now I just tweet about whatever. But I always lack creativity, and then I go back to some of the same themes or same jokes again. And so I had to big tweet recently about the fact that like there's zoos in Peppa Pig. They go and visit zoos, and so I kind of implied that these zoos are filled with humans. That there's like Peppa Pig is responsible for all these great atrocities, and so that's been my go-to recently. Is like that, like people need to be liberated from the tyranny of Peppa Pig. So now when I can't think of a joke, that's what I get back to is I don't know, freeing the world from Peppa.
Okay, I get that. I like that sort of explanation of it. How it started as sort of the driving force, like the main crux of the content, and then you sort of figured out, oh, I can also just post like the funny jokes. Now you've sort of found a balance where it's like when you need inspiration, you can always fall back on the continuing narrative of the llama tale, and then when inspiration strikes for hilarity, you can just post regular tweets about other things. That's a good mix. So Peppa Pig, they got those weird sideways faces.
Yeah, and 4 eyes. That's what a lot of people reply, and like I get that reply a lot. Is that Peppa has 4 eyes, and that weirds people out.
Oh, because of the snout.
Like, yeah, because she's always shown in profile, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're weird sideways faces.
Yeah. Every time she flips around, then obviously there's eyes on the other side. So a lot of people like to point that out to me.
It's pretty wild. Actually, there was something this week about The Simpsons, how it's like their eyes are always touching unless they put on sunglasses, and then a strip of skin appears between their eyes. And a lot of Simpsons writers were mind blown on that.
Yeah. It's crazy. Cartoons are not consistent, not very realistic, it turns out.
No, I guess you're right. Is this triggering? Wait, okay.
What a jaunty tune.
Is this triggering?
No. Oh, that's the Peppa theme song?
Yeah.
The truth be told, I don't even watch the show. I don't even know if I've seen a full episode of Peppa.
You haven't seen a full episode of Peppa?
I don't think so.
Well, let me tell you, they get on some wild adventures. I think the dad is my favorite character. I've seen a few episodes, I got some nieces who enjoy a good Peppa Pig. It's not the best. It's not the best children's programming out there, but it's gonna be on. Right.
Yeah, I have a couple nieces and nephews, but they all live in Ontario, so I see them very rarely. So my toddler content is at a low,
Oh, that's tough because the little kids are so much fun to have around. It gives you a weird insight into the world of little kids. Why are you watching this, and why do you think it's good? Right. Yeah, it's a family of pigs, but also really what's going on here.
My good friend Kurt, who I record my podcast with, has a couple little kids, and their thing is PJ Masks. So that's what I'm an expert on, is PJ Masks. But
I don't know that one. What's the breakdown of PJ Mask? What's going on there?
They're superheroes. They're normal kids at night, but then or during the day. I mean, at night when they put their pajamas on, they become superheroes.
Oh.
So their pajamas are their superhero costumes.
Oh, that's great.
And I think that means they never sleep. It's an all-nighter every night.
Yeah, that's kind of troubling for the kids. Don't kids need extra sleep? Don't kids need more sleep when you're growing, right?
These ones, they're heroes.
Well, I mean, that's pretty good. If my kid was out fighting crime at night, I'd be cool with it.
It's good to know that our cities are protected by a handful of young children.
I mean, couldn't hurt.
I love to know that supervillains are being that we're sending 5 and 6 year olds out to face our supervillains.
So do you know any other kids TV shows? A couple of the ones that I am familiar with are Paw Patrol. It's quite popular.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta have seen that, and then also Rusty Rivets is one, and then Ranger Rob. They got to be alliterative, right? It's if you're not alliterative, get out of here. I'm talking Peppa Pig. I'm talking Paw Patrol, Ranger Rob, Rusty Rivets.
That's true. I never thought about that actually. Bob the Builder as an older one, but yeah.
I mean,
there you go.
Well, but let's find ones that don't work. Dora the Explorer.
Dora the Explorer. Yeah.
I don't know any other. Care Bears. That's still around, right?
That's from like my childhood.
Yeah. And My Little Pony.
Teletubbies.
Teletubbies. I mean, yeesh. That is wild.
It's still weird to think about that. That was weird when I was a child, and it's still like, I don't know what was happening there.
I don't know either. It was like they did this research of like what babies react to, like bright colors, these gentle sounds, and they're like, let's just make a whole show that's bright colors and gentle sounds. And
someone pointed out to me recently, and I looked it up, and it's true that they are like 8 to 12 feet tall. The Teletubbies are.
They're gigantic.
They're absolutely huge.
They're larger than life.
Terrifying.
Pretty terrifying. You know, I was once added to a room that was strictly Teletubbies gifts, and that was the only thing. And if you didn't send a Teletubbies gift, you were out of the room. And I stayed in that room. I stayed in that room for way too long. I was in that room for like months, just like out of principle, like I will not leave. And it was horrifying.
I think it was Octopus Caveman that made that, right?
It might have been. I don't know. It was a while back, but
he did something like, and it was like, reply to this tweet if you want to be added to it or whatever. And I just replied and was like, this is horrifying. I hate it. So he added me in, and I was like, I forget what I said. I was like, this is awful. And they booted me immediately. So someone sent me the screenshot of that transaction. And that was a tweet at some point.
Oh,
that I got added. I was like, this is terrible. And then I got booted instantly. So,
well, it was terrible, but it was sort of just like, I was testing myself to see if I could, I would like, I would send gifts to get a gift exchange going with Teletubby gifts. You'd have to like go off grid to find other ones that weren't in the normal rotation of Teletubby gifts to keep it fresh. It was crazy days. So I'm glad that I got to experience it, but also it was not good at all.
Well, I'm glad that I did not invest any time or effort into a Teletubbies room.
Yeah, it was. You were smart getting out at the ground level.
You know what room I am still in and is still active is the teeth room.
You got to tell us. We're talking about friend of the show, Lil Bear Girdle, and his famous tweet.
Yeah, the teeth chanting tweet.
Teeth chanting.
And then I forget how it happened exactly, but somebody replied to the teeth chanting tweet, which if you don't know that, you got to go look it up on Twitter because you just got to find it.
I think you read it on his episode, so go back and listen to that fateful episode.
Someone replied and said, I don't understand your joke. And Bear was like, Brandon was like, DM me and I'll explain it to you. Chuck, who's at Orange Fact, he was like, add me to that room. And basically, just in the reply comments, suddenly there were like 20 people who wanted to be in this room. And so they made a DM room with 20 or so people and this one guy who didn't understand the joke. And then basically 19 people just said the word teeth. Well, this other guy would interject and be like, guys, I don't get the joke. Teeth. And he would leave and we would add him back and like, oh man.
It was a whole to-do.
Yeah, and it's almost been 2 years now. I remember celebrating the 1 year anniversary. It's been a long time and we still say the word teeth in there, at least on a daily basis. Not as busy as it once was,
right?
But definitely
obviously.
Still around.
That's crazy. Those things I'd keep going forever, and it's just really weird.
It's the one DM room that I've never left.
Yeah. So DM rooms, that's a pretty crazy thing online. So you're a frequenter of DM rooms, we should say. That's you're not afraid to slide into those DMs, and that's part of how you make your friends online, right?
Yeah, you guys were talking about this when we met in real life. It was me and you, Isabel Zatan, and Todd Williams. And I guess I never thought about it, but you guys were saying that as soon as you guys followed me back, I just DM'd you and was like, hey, how's it going? Want to be in a room? Which was, I guess, I didn't think that was unique. I just figured everybody did this, but you guys were like, wow, bold. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess so. I just like making friends.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing, right? Like you're not afraid of that, not getting a reply or whatever. See, I think that's probably why myself, I would not, or I don't send DMs, that much. Is it fear of rejection?
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I guess it's like, I'm fairly extroverted, and I even like with my job, I have to meet a lot of people, so I'm very much the kind of person who will introduce myself to everyone at a party, anyways.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's it's a good trait to carry over, right? Like sometimes the internet doesn't necessarily allow for, like, oh, hey, everybody, how you doing? But sometimes it does. And when you can find your like-minded friends and folks who, don't mind a nice DM here and there, then that's even all the much better. Because all those people will get added to your DM rooms and they'll be your Twitter friends.
I have unearthed my share of drama doing that, though.
Okay, let us know. Here we go. We're about to get juicy on the pod. All right, start spilling.
I had one room where, like, every time I met someone new that I thought was funny, I would just throw them into the same room. So I'd be like, "Hey, how's it going? I think you're awesome. Want to join my room?" Sure. So I'd add them in, and the number of times I added in like two people who hate each other, or like add them in because they're blocked, or like it was. I unearthed a lot of terrible drama.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you're friends with person A, and then you're like, oh, look at this person B, they're great too. These two people are both great, and then you're like, oh no, person A hates person B, and it is not good.
Yeah. So I've learned my lesson. You gotta ask the room. You gotta ask the room.
Yeah. So you obviously run some rooms, right? You got some rooms going. So what are some key factors? Yeah, let us know. What are the good advice for how to do a DM room right? You gotta ask everybody, right? Ask first. Don't just add.
You gotta set the precedent too. Like you gotta make sure that it gets up and gets going, and like when you add somebody, you want them to like have an enjoyable first day or two, right?
Okay, yeah. So you gotta.
It just ends up being their unused room,
right? The room will die if no one's chatting, or for example, right? So
it's very hard to revive a dead room.
You gotta try to add fresh blood. Be like, look, it's a new person in the room. What is this new person up to? And then sometimes it works, and sometimes it still fizzles.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's always been very interesting to me, like DMs. I'm in a few DM rooms that I've been in for a long time, and they're great, to check in every day. And then some other ones I've like dropped out of over time, but it's just how it goes in the back rooms of Twitter.
Yeah, I don't think you and I are in any rooms together anymore.
Yeah, what the hell happened to us, man?
I don't know. All
right, well, add me to a room. I don't leave rooms very much anymore.
I'll add you to the room that I add everyone to, and you can see if anyone has beef with you.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah,
be a good way to. Yeah.
Then I'll get them on the pod and we'll hash it out.
Yeah. Yes. That's the podcast that we're missing. Two people who hate each other on Twitter.
Yeah. It's the we've had some feuding fellows on the pod, like one at one time, one at another time, and then since their episodes they've become enemies, harshest enemies. I mean, it's crazy how it happens online. It's like it's a big world, but also sometimes it's small.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, yeah, you're doing Twitter tweets, having fun online. Are you on any other websites? Are you an Instagram user? Are you?
Yeah, I've kind of become an Instagram user recently, and I don't even know why. I don't like Instagram. Like, if you are following me and I don't follow you back on Instagram, like it's literally just because I've probably never checked my notifications. But I've realized that, like, just realistically, like that's where people are. That's where money is. That's where job opportunities are. And like, if I'm going to waste my life on Twitter or online, I mean, then I might as well, be putting my content on Instagram. It takes 5 seconds to carry a joke over. So,
all right. So
I just do screenshots of my tweets.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So you're doing it's just like Twitter 2.0, just pictures of tweets. Are you doing any
memes as well?
Okay, reposting some memes. Are you what are you using to do your repost? Because it always looks very nice, I think, in your stories. Are you using a third party app to take a screenshot?
Yeah, it's called InFrame. And it basically just like takes the tweet and then like you have to crop it and then it'll fill in the blank space.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people online who have done the migration, or like are half on Twitter, half on Instagram, but really it's just pictures of tweets on Instagram. But some people, make it look really nice and have like the picture of tweet with like tagging the person on Instagram and like a little comment. It's nice. I need to get better at Instagram stories. I've been trying to get better at doing Instagram because that's where the people have gone to. It's, I guess, less problematic maybe over there.
Yeah, maybe. It's just like, it's weird how many, like if I talk to my real life friends, if I'm in a group in real life and I'm like, hey, who's got Twitter? It's like one person out of 10 or whatever. And I don't know if that's my age bracket. I don't know if that's geographically, like, I don't know what the demographic is, but it seems like everybody has Instagram, which the numbers seem to add up. I don't know how many hundreds of millions of people are on each platform off the top of my head, but there are more people on Instagram.
Oh, for sure. And that's been
my experience in real life too. So
yeah, and it's been like over the last few years, it's sort of just been like a steady trickle from all the different social medias to Instagram. Where like every time someone would come up, Instagram would like add the good thing from that platform and just have it also. It's sort of like what, Facebook and them, they're all sort of the same. Like when Snapchat appeared, Instagram's like, oh yeah, we can do stories too. Like we can just do that. You don't have the market on that anymore. So it's sort of they take the best of all the other ones. So I think that's probably why most people have migrated over there. So it's friendlier, and that's pretty pictures and puppies and stuff.
Yeah, and it's a lot harder to find people that you dislike.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot harder for people to just wander across your content because there's no retweet button. So you don't get a lot of people showing up who are like, I adamantly disagree with everything you say. Like,
right.
Twitter has a tendency to connect people who disagree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're looking to spur debate on Twitter, and Instagram's like, just follow a nice hashtag. Follow a hashtag that you like.
Right.
Yeah.
Hashtag Peppa Pig. That's what I should do.
Hashtag Peppa Pig. Hashtag all your stuff, Peppa Pig. All right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you wanted to talk about your IRL life and your real job, because we talked about it a little bit at our meetup, and it seems pretty cool and crazy.
Yeah. So I'm actually in a transition time right now, but I'll tell you what I have been doing for the last 5 years.
Yes.
I run a touring theater company. So basically I recruit actors, I write and direct plays, and then they get in their vans and travel coast to coast across Canada and perform usually once a day, like usually 5 days of the week. We average about 7 shows a week. So 1 or 2 shows a day for 5 days of the week. And we focus on parts of the country that would have like at-risk youth. So we work a lot with First Nations. We work a lot in the inner city. We work with all sorts of people groups that would maybe just have less access to fun and free programming for kids. And so, yeah, I travel a lot, I perform a lot, I teach a lot, and it's a blast.
Yeah, it sounds so crazy.
I'm coming to the end of that at the end of July, so...
so wrapping her up.
Yeah, I just finished my last tour last weekend, and then now I have kind of 2 or 3 months to write next year's play, to finish off some admin stuff, and then I'm handing the reins over to a new director. So,
wow, finally stepping down. Moving on. That's very exciting. So are you looking forward to the next chapter?
Yeah, I don't know what it holds. I don't have a job yet, but if anyone wants to hire me, let me know.
Hey, what are you thinking about doing?
I honestly don't know. I think the plan eventually will be to go back to school, but I'm just going to work and make some money right now, and I don't know what that means. I'm not like a 5-year planner kind of guy. I just roll as the days go by. So
all right, we'll see. If any listeners have any job suggestions for Kevin, send them to the podcast at FOTS Pod on Twitter. Don't forget to CC at Llama in a Tux. Or is it Llama?
That's a great question. I don't know.
I think it's Llama. I think I misspoke. I always say Llama. It's a llama in a tux.
Is that a Canadian thing? Is that what that is?
It could be. Llama. I think that just slipped in, because we do the short A more often. Is that true?
Okay,
Like pasta? People say pasta.
I say pasta.
Yeah, Canadian
Do you
people.
say pasta?
I used to.
Oh.
But then I married an
learned-
Italian. And I was instantly shamed by her and her whole family for saying pasta.
Okay, that's awesome.
So you know what? I do not say it anymore. I say pasta.
All right. Well, I'm uncultured, so I say pasta.
Well, that's okay. One day you'll learn. One day you'll meet a nice Italian and they'll show you the way. All right.
Sounds good.
Sounds great. All right. So let's talk about the tweet ups. You're king of the tweet ups. How many people you met? Who you met? How do you do it? What's the worst meetup story? What's your best meetup story?
Yeah, I don't even know how many I've met now. I'm going to guess like 15 probably. Like it's been a few. I went to one in Chicago, like a big one, and I went to one. The Toronto one was just four and a half of us. Sarah kind of came and left, and then I've met lots of people just one-on-one. And this summer I'm going to Utah. I'm going to go camping with a big group. So yeah, it's good fun.
Utah. Oh, there's a big group out there. I'm talking about the Suge Knight crew and etc.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Adam Proud has moved now. Never mind. I don't know. There's a couple people out there, and then some Texans are going to drive up, so it should be fun.
Oh, getting multiple states involved.
Yeah, it's Pantleg and Rob from Online that are kind of heading it up. They're both in Texas, and then we're going to drag some friends in. So it should be good.
That's great. So how do you do it? So you've done it a lot of times. Generally run me through the process. I mean, I've obviously participated in this process, but I would like to hear it. And for those people out there, the listeners, looking to maybe meet some of their Twitter pals, what are the key things to know?
I don't know if I have a good answer for that. I think I'm just very bold in the DMs maybe. Like I found out that a lot of people lived in Chicago. And so last summer when I was doing my holidays, I was like, oh, I should just go to Chicago for a week. And so then I DM'd all those people and was like, hey, want to hang out? And as it turned out, there's like a DM room of all the Chicago people. And so they added me to that. And I ended up meeting maybe 6 or 7 people on one night.
Wow.
That we just kind of all went to an arcade together and hung out. Andrew Nadeau was there, and Yael and Bob Janke. Lots, just a bunch of accounts. Some who were small, some who were big. And then since I was there for the week, then I was able to meet up with people who didn't make it to the tweet up. I saw Home Halfway, Michael, and Janie, Atticus Finch. I saw all kinds of people. Sarah Joy Shockey, friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Sarah Joy Shockey. And friend of the show, Andrew Nadeau. Yeah, the great Chicago people. And who else? Did you see the Shiny Bean?
I did see the Shiny Bean, yes. It's still there.
Is it shiny still?
It's still shiny. I still don't understand it, but that's the art of cities, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, what can we do that'll bring people to a spot? And it's nice.
It's effective, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of good photo ops, right?
Toronto built a massive TV antenna, never dreaming that satellites would go higher. So, I don't know. We tried to be practical, and it didn't really work.
No, and the thing that I always think about we're obviously talking about the CN Tower, our Toronto's great landmark, skyline dominating at one time the highest freestanding structure in the world. How are we going to take it down?
Yeah. It's just the art of obligation now.
It's it's like the putting it up was one thing, but it's like taking it down because it's gonna eventually fall into disrepair and be a danger of falling down. How are we gonna do that? It's gonna be a challenge, a feat of engineering. You have any ideas? I'm gonna need the idea by my desk.
And take a chainsaw and chop it down like it's a big tree.
That would may work.
Drop it into the lake.
Drake's still sitting on the edge up top.
You live in Hamilton. What's Hamilton's, what do you have, a cliff face?
Hamilton.
Jackson Square?
What do we got? Jackson Square. That's a place here. What do we got? We have the Royal Botanical Gardens. That's pretty nice.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just trying to think. We have that. There's a nice cathedral. What do we got? Yeah, it's not a great place. I was talking about it in the earlier episode, or for the listeners, last week's episode with Cassie Cow about how she lived in Hamilton for a little bit, but then moved back to Toronto because Hamilton kind of sucks. So, yeah, I guess we could say that Toronto might have the edge on architecture and landmarks.
Hamilton does not have a great reputation, which is not entirely fair. Like, it does have nice parts, but it's a steel city, or historically was like steel manufacturing, right?
Yep, you got that right. Stelco, still here.
So it's like a lot of chimney stacks, and so a lot of like coal grime, especially on the old buildings.
Yeah,
and it's historically had such a poverty problem, so that's like the reputation, which is, I think, not entirely fair in 2019.
I know it's it's a little bit gentrified in pockets, and there's obviously nicer parts, and then there's like still grimy parts. But it's a city on the grow. It's a city in transition. They do a lot of filming here now. I think they filmed that recent Netflix show Umbrella Academy like last year, and yeah, they're getting a lot of good high visibility projects. So it's in a transition. So I think it's sort of working its way out of that. I don't know if it'll ever shake that Steel City vibe, but hopefully it'll be it's better than it was, you know.
I have taught drama numerous times in Hamilton to usually with homeless people. We try to come and spend a couple of weeks, and I am always impressed. Like, Hamilton as a city does a good job with shelters, with providing meals. Like, there's so many charitable organizations that you can be well looked after, or reasonably well looked after, as somebody who's hit a tough spot in life, if you're living in Hamilton.
Well, that is good to hear, because it definitely is an issue in our city. I mean, it's an issue in all the big cities, right? But yeah, well, it's good to hear that there are good services here, probably desperately needed.
I remember being there, I think it was 3 years ago, and they had it was the first year that there was, we were there in the winter, it was a cold night. It was the first year that there was no one on the streets because there was enough shelters. Like, there was enough beds in the shelters for every person in the city. So they were kind of celebrating that as a city. And that's a good thing to have. Like,
oh yeah.
Because especially in Hamilton, if it's minus 30 at night, like it really is a very serious issue of people sleeping on the street in the middle of the winter. So yeah.
Shout out to Hamilton Social Services. They're doing good.
They are.
All right. So, do you have any worst meetup stories? Do you have a meetup that went wrong? Did you get lost somewhere? Did someone not show? Did the person murder you?
Yeah, I skipped out on Isabel Zata, and that's a thing that happened.
Oh, yeah, I think friend of the show.
Yeah, as a rule, like the tweet-ups have been very, very good, and I have always been very pleasantly surprised that, like, I don't know, people are in real life like they are online.
Okay, yeah. There
people
hasn't been
funny online or funny in real life.
Yeah.
So Isabel and I kind of missed each other. I went to see her show in Toronto at the Comedy Bar, and then I left her stranded in a bar. I don't know how else to say that. We miscommunicated and ended up leaving at very different times. So.
Okay. The old miscommune.
Yeah. That's all right. I did see her show, and it was very good. If you ever are in Toronto and you want to see good comedy, find out what Isabel's doing, because she does together good shows.
I believe the show is called Hack Couture, and you can check it out in Toronto at Comedy Bar, and also follow it online on Instagram. They have great pics of all the shows, and it's like a fashion-based comedy show where everyone wears wild fashions, and they do comedy, and it's sort of like a fashion show where it's judged. It's yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna go check it out soon.
It was a blast. I loved it.
All right, shout out to Isabel. All right, now we got a bunch of questions. We got to dive into these questions from Twitter. So thank you to everyone who has sent in a question to at FOTS Pod on Twitter. And if you want your question read, be sure to send them in next time. All right, we got a question from Malt. I'm talking about at Malt_Skull. I'm talking about our favorite Finnish friend of the show. And his question is, does your Twitter name intentionally rhyme with the song Living in a Box by the band Living in a Box?
Okay, first of all, I don't know if it's my age or what, but I've never heard of that song.
Are you kidding me?
No. Am I supposed to have?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm young and dumb. And
1987. Where you been?
Oh yeah,
1987. Come on.
That was the year that I graduated from high school.
You should have known. That was.
Is that it? Is that the song?
This is a song.
Oh my god.
If this doesn't sound like the 80s, I don't know what does.
Or not.
It kind of sounds like the 90s too. It's that late 80s, early 90s. I'm just gonna let this roll until we hear the living in a box. I'm watching the video and it's actually pretty funky. It's got like a guy in a suit is the lead singer, but the camera is all shaky. The camera work needs.
I want to know if they say living in a did they say living in a box?
Yeah, they just said.
How does that look? Oh, he does kind of say box.
Living in a tux.
I should write a parody with name on.
I'm a llama in a tux. I'm a llama in a very nice tux.
Where the name Llama in a tux comes from? Would that be helpful?
It would be great, and it would be a very interesting topic, and let's get to that answer right after you answer Malt's question.
Yes, obviously, yes.
There, obviously.
I was gonna say, if I explain where my name comes from, then you would know the answer to whether or not it was intentionally rhyming.
All right, let us know.
So I have worked at summer camp all my life, or most of my life, and I still do. It's very common practice at summer camps, some of them, that the counselors don't go by their real names, so that children don't know whether to call you Mr. or by your first name, and that way your director can be a middle-aged person, but there's no awkwardness. So if the kid is calling them a funky nickname,
okay.
So for years as a program director at camp, my camp name was Tuxedo, and that's what everyone called me. That camp that I worked at, which is in Muskoka, shout out to Muskoka in Ontario, is where they filmed It Takes Two, the Mary-Kate and Ashley movie. That's a fun side fact for you.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. And now what I do in the summers is I work at a variety of different camps, usually teaching drama. Also, because I have now years and years of drama of camp experience, I kind of check in on program and give advice and that kind of stuff. So I was at a camp and I have a shirt that's like a massive face of a llama, and I was playing basketball with these kids and they did not know my name, and this little 6-year-old girl was like, "Way to go, llama," because that's what my shirt was. And so everyone at the camp called me Llama for the week, just became a nickname that stuck. And maybe a week later I made the Twitter account, so I put the two names together. Little did I know or think about the fact that no one would ever call me the nickname Llama again. Like, that's not a camp name that stuck. Right. That was 1 week only. But I thought it would be fun to put my two camp names together. As it happens, I should have picked an animal that I actually like or know anything about, because people ask me all the time about llama facts, and I don't know anything about llamas. But
yeah, well, you have the shirt, so that was that was the crux of it. Well, thanks to the little girl for that great nickname.
Yeah, there you go. So Tuxedo was actually the name that I went by, but Llama is the one that ended up sticking online. So
that's wild. Yeah, Tuxedo is part of it, but it's more about the llama now. The brand has become more about the llama than the tux. When really,
so I put llama and a tux together because it rhymes with the title of a song that I had never heard before.
Are you talking about
Box?
I was hoping that I would be able to get it right on the living in a box part, but anyways, thank you very much, Malt, for your great question, and then we got to listen to that great song, so thank you very much. Everyone go check him out at Malt_Skull on Twitter. And now we get to the next question, and this question is from our old pal Marky Doodoo at Marky Doodoo, and the question is, why is bread...
I love that question.
I kind of put him on the spot for that one.
Was he a friend of the show?
Not yet. Marky, come on.
Bread is good. That's why it is.
Boom.
I love bread. I'm the kind of person that Olive Garden fears, if you know what I mean. Like, I love bread. I can go through a lot.
You're like, unlimited? That's not enough.
Yeah. I dedicated an account to bread recently, and I just tweeted about bread, but I kind of got bored of it after a while, so I don't use it much anymore. But I'm a big bread fan.
Yeah, you love bread?
Yeah. Yes. I should tweet about this when I do it, but I do it a lot, where I'll go to the grocery store and I'll buy a baguette for $1, like those big long ones, and then I eat it before I get home. And my roommates make fun of me so much for that, because the baguettes at the grocery store are like 4 feet long, and then I will show up with like 6 inches and be like, "Hey guys, here's this." I do that a lot.
I mean, bread is fine. There's a spectrum of how good bread can be, right? There's those delicious artisan breads and baguettes, like probably what you're talking about, and then there's like Wonder Bread, which is fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't sit down and eat a loaf of Wonder Bread.
No, but delicious artisanal baguette.
Yes,
get it in ya. All right, well, that settles that. Thank you very much to Mustard Clown. I'm talking about the googly-eyed raven. It is Marky Doodoo. Go check him out on Twitter. He's bored right now. All right. The next question comes to us from That Dutch Person. Spanky McDutcherson at That Dutch Person. And the question is, if you could leave work an hour early, knowing your boss will make a coworker work an hour late, would you?
That is such a good accent. I applaud you. That's great. No, like, I like work.
Oh, yeah. As we just discussed, you're sort of your own boss.
I am my own boss, so that is true. And also, like, our work is to go and perform a play, so I can't imagine letting someone leave an hour early. That wouldn't do good for us.
Just doing the play with the other protagonist or just one half of the cast.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work. Listen, it wouldn't work.
So well. No, I'm happy to work overtime. I don't have a family or friends or anyone to get home to, so I'm happy to work more.
All right. There you go. You wouldn't mind staying later, and you'd work an hour late for free.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? All right. Well, thank you very much to Spanky McDutcherson for that great question. The next question comes to us from He Called Me Greenhorn. That's at What's a Greenhorn? And the question is, why is there a Dalai Lama but no Llama Dolly?
That's a funny question, because like I'm sure there are llama stuffies. Like I'm.
Oh, there's definitely llama stuffies, especially with the onset of the popularity of the video game Fortnite, which features llamas heavily.
Yes, that's true. I do get a lot of comments and pictures and such. Fortnite
related llama.
Do you play Fortnite?
Content. I have been known to play it. Yes, I've played it.
Nice, very cool. I downloaded it because all the kids were talking about it. So
yeah.
I downloaded it. I played it maybe twice.
Right.
And then I deleted it.
Okay, yeah, just to understand, right? Like, that's why I did it at first. And then I sort of, got hooked. I can play it. They do cross-platform matching. So myself, I am on the Xbox One platform, and some of my friends are on the PS4 platform, and you can play each other. It's the first game to allow that. So that was very nice.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. You get to play with people who you wouldn't normally play with because of platform restrictions or whatever, but Fortnite, they are making worlds collide, or I don't know how they made it happen, but it was very nice that they did. So a llama dolly, get on, yeah, you got that does exist, right?
Yes, and it should also be elected the leader of an Eastern religion.
Yeah, very peaceful. It's a very peaceful animal.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much for the question, Greenhorn. And the next question comes to us from Nige. I'm talking about at sensual_dad on Twitter. And the question is, what's the most sensual thing you've ever done?
I don't know if, oh man, these are such tough questions.
Yeah, you need to get real here. And we want specific, explicit details.
I wish I had a really, really good story.
Share your sensuality.
The first time I ever remember hearing the word sensual was the first time I ever did improv, which must have been like grade 9 probably, which is so funny, like the transition from being in elementary school to junior high to high school, the transition of innocence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I never had junior high. I went straight from elementary, grade 8, right into grade 9 high school.
My year was the year they built a junior high in my high school, so we were the first, I guess. It's funny because you go from being like, shut up is a bad word, right? To suddenly like learning everything. So I didn't know what the word sensual meant, which is just hilarious in hindsight. And I remember being in improv and they were like, okay, I forget what the exercise was, but I had to be sensual on stage. That was the thing I was given, and I didn't know what that meant. And someone was like, it just means sexy. And so I forget what I did. I just remember it being very awkward and the teacher being like, okay, let's just move on and have no more of this, you know?
Yeah. Students just
yeah.
strike that from your memories, and we'll all agree to ignore that and pretend it never happened.
Yeah. So to this day, my best definition of the word sensual is just that it's another way to say sexy.
All right, listeners. So if you know something's what he should have done when the teacher asked him to act sensual, send us a quick video to FOTS Pod. Let us know.
Yes, please.
A sensual video.
Yeah.
Call for sensuality. All right. So what's your? So is that the most sensual? Not knowing what it was?
Sensual. That's the only time I've ever been sensual.
Okay. So I guess that answers the question, right?
Yeah, that's the most sensual I've ever been.
Well, thank you very much for your question, Nige, at sensual_dad. All right, here we go. We got a hot one. We got a firecracker of a question coming to us from the number one top friend of the show at Jess OK Fine. The very first and one of the best. The question posed by Jess to you is pineapple on pizza?
Can't believe it. I can't believe that she would make me lose friends like this. Yes, it's an easy answer. The answer is yes.
Woof.
Yeah.
Wow. And okay, so you need to explain yourself. Are we talking about a Hawaiian pizza invented by a Canadian, or are we talking about just cheese, sauce, and pineapple?
No, I'm talking about Hawaiian pizza. I mean, shout out to anyone who's vegetarian who can live that lifestyle, but there's no way I would eat a pizza without meat on it. So it's got to be Hawaiian. I got to have that ham.
That's a hot take. And is it ham or I forget. Some places do it differently. With
yeah, that's true. Is that okay? I knew that it was invented by a Canadian, but is that that is a universal thing, right? Or as universal as pizza goes? Like Hawaiian pizza is around, is it not?
Yeah, yes, it is around. It's an option, and I think that's why Jess knows that it is a thing because it is available in places, and a lot of people find it unnerving because of it's a fruit on a pizza. But I think those people are forgetting that tomato is a fruit. You got friggin' fruit all over the thing.
They're intimidated by the boldness. They're not ready for the reality. It's just, you know what? It's bold, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like, things that are spicy and sweet or whatever. Whoever figured that combo out, I bet people were like, that's dumb. Either give me spicy or give me sweet. Popcorn. We're like, yeah.
There's so many things that don't belong together, but end up being amazing. So
savory and sweet. So there you go.
I also love Canadian pizza, which I guess it's just I don't know, which is, I don't even know what it is. Hamburger, sausage, and mushroom usually, right?
What?
Canadian pizza?
I think it is I think it varies maybe to locales, because I think Canadian pizza is normally something with, it's like bacon on it, right?
It's usually a meat and then mushrooms.
Okay. I don't know about Canadian style pizza.
Oh, that's the other way that I'll go.
That's your B pizza. So A pizza is Hawaiian with fresh cut pineapple slices, and then if not, Canadian pizza.
I would love to know if Canadian pizza is also universal. I don't know.
All right, I'm looking at it. I just gave it a quick Google, and this says the Canadian pizza toppings typically include tomato sauce, mozzarella cheese, bacon, pepperoni, and mushrooms.
Okay.
Variations exist. The recipe is also known internationally by that name. So yeah, Canadian pizza, mushroom, pep, and bacon.
I don't know why bacon is associated with Canada. I know that Americans call it Canadian back bacon. I don't even, why? Where did we earn that from?
I don't know how that all worked out, but we have our own style of bacon. It's pea meal bacon or back bacon. It's the bigger, thicker bacon. It's good.
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Yeah, we have legitimately earned the maple syrup reputation. I don't know why bacon is connected to us. You know?
That's a good question. Listener, if you have any idea why Canada is associated with bacon, let us know. Hashtag Canadian bacon. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Jess, for that great question. Everyone got to go check her out at JessOKFine on Twitter. And if you don't mind, go listen to her episode and her best of Friends of the Show, Super Friends, holiday special episode, which was so much fun. Yeah, go check her out. She's the best. All right. Now the next question comes to us from Ray. I'm talking about at Sir Eviscerate. And what has he got to ask? Here we go. What is a smell that always brings back strong memories, good or bad?
Okay, I was trying to think about this earlier, and the only thing I could think of is like, do you know what I mean when I say like the smell of pain? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, please elaborate.
Many people don't, but this is like a very real visceral thing that especially if I get hit in the head. Like if I crack my head and there's gonna be a lump, like a goose egg, a real solid crack in the head has like a very distinct smell. Like that's the sense that is triggered, and I don't know why, but that is the most vivid thing to me. And I've said this before, and most people do not know what I'm talking about, so it's no surprise that you don't know what I'm talking about. But nothing brings me back to my childhood faster than when I bump my head on something and I just get that smell in my mind, and immediately I'm taken to like 1,000 like bike spills, or like soccer games or whatever. And I don't know how to describe it other than that pain has a very distinct smell for me.
All right, this is wild. Now, we had Rachel Mandek on, who has synesthesia, so she can taste sounds and see different things, and like it's the senses that are crossed. So maybe is this the case of that, or because are you just smelling blood? You what?
As far as I know, this is the only thing for me. Like I don't have any other symptoms of synesthesia, and it's just one of those, like, people talk about that, that they see or hear certain things when sounds are played, and like that doesn't even make sense to me. Like, not that I think they're making it up, but like it's not something that I can even imagine. Or connect to anything in my brain. And there's nothing else that triggers smell for me that I know of. No physical thing.
Is so wild. Well, from what I can tell by science, there's 10 smells that we can detect. Fragrant, fruity, citrus, woody, chemical, sweet, minty, toasted, pungent, decayed. So which category does it fall into?
Wow, I'm going to say pungent.
Pungent, so i.e. blue cheese or cigar smoke.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or is it decayed, like rotting meat or sour milk?
No, it doesn't smell like that. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, it looks like there is a weird connection between pain and smell, and science says you can smell pain. Okay, so looks like you heard it here first. You've unlocked it. So everyone go read the study published in the journal Nature, where mice were found to have olfactory glands with pain when they're sensitive to touch. That's pretty wild. You heard it here first, guys.
There you go.
That is the smell. The smell of pain brings back strong memories.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I actually have a terrible sense of smell, so there aren't a lot of smells that bring me back to when I was young.
Really? Because for most people, I mean myself, speaking from just myself, the scent and memory are very closely intertwined, and I'll sometimes just catch a whiff of something and be like, my second grade teacher, or something like that, where you just smell something. The one thing
for me is like mildewy basements remind me of video games, because that's where our GameCube was, which I spent a lot of hours on with my brother.
Right.
And so that's another one, that a mildewy basement sucks me right back to Legend of Zelda or whatever.
There you go. Yeah, me too. Mildewy basement. We used to play Nintendo at my buddy's house. The old the basement video game smell. Good one. It's a classic smell. All right. Well, thank you very much, Ray. Everyone go check him out on Twitter at Sir Eviscerate. One of the best. And now we get to some questions from Todd Williams. I'm talking about at the Todd Williams. Great question asker, friend of the show, one of the people we met up with, right?
Yeah.
And that was so great. Yeah. Isabel was there telling us what to eat, Todd was there, also eating the stuff.
That was a good night. That was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, and we were there for hours, not letting them turn over the table.
No,
and it was worth
eating
it.
dips.
Yeah, I was definitely exploring a lot of new taste sensations that I don't normally indulge in, and it was great.
Same. Yeah, no regrets, and it was super cheap too. Like I would absolutely eat there again.
Yeah, that was a great little spot. So shout out to Isabel Zotun, great knower of good spots to go to and knower of what to get on the menu.
This episode has become one big plug for Isabel.
I mean, why not? Everyone go check her out. Check out her old episode, Friends of the Show. That was the only one recorded live in my house. Face to face.
That's one of my favorite episodes, and it's because it's live. Like there's a whole different energy because you guys are in the same room.
Exactly. It was definitely a different vibe. I was extra nervous or something, right? To have her there, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that she was able to come by, and I can say that I met her multiple times now.
Awesome.
All right, so let's get to the question from Todd. The questions are 3. And he says, I need to really get into your brain, Kev. Question 1. Mustache wax. Yes or no? And why?
Yes, definitely yes. Because it keeps your mustache out of your mouth, keeps you from dragging your food through it. You don't want a soup strainer. You don't want to take the custard off the top of every piece of pie. So it gives you a nice barrier. And if you grow it long enough, you can get that nice, beautiful curl. Which I rocked for a very long time. So if I went a day, my mustache is shorter now, but if I went a day without waxing my mustache, then I ate it like a lot, and that is disgusting. So yes, always wax.
Always wax. Well, that's very interesting. I have always been interested in the facial hair techniques of people. I dabbled with a mustache last year for like a few months, and it was pretty wild because I can't really grow a beard, so mustache is like the best I could do, and it's definitely like living a different life, like seeing a different guy in the mirror, and people, a lot of people noticed it. So, but I did not get to the level where I needed to wax it. So, but next time, definitely will dabble in that.
Yeah, I used to wax it. I had a big curl, and I had that for maybe 3 or 4 years, and then I decided to change it recently. I watched Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a great movie, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make it a Freddie Mercury mustache. So that's kind of more what I have now.
Okay, yeah, for the Freddie Mercury mustache, it's a classic stash.
Yeah, it was time to change it up anyways, but why not go after the man, the legend? So
yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's always interesting. Like, are you a person who will have the waxed up curl on the end, or will you keep it more low key? And you have gone both ends.
Yeah. Yes. I think once I officially finish this job, first thing I'll do is I'll shave it off just to start a new era, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'll be wild. Well, be sure to check in. Yeah. All right. So, second question from Todd. In what ways are you like a llama?
I love to spit on people.
Oh, that's bad.
No, I don't know. I honestly don't know that much
you
about
llamas.
Don't know.
We've discussed this before. You really screwed up by not knowing more about llamas.
The other actors that I work with will tell you that I do spit when I talk, especially when I'm on stage and I'm projecting nice and loudly. They know whether I am well hydrated or not because apparently I'm a sprayer when I'm talking loudly. So, and I make no apology for that. It's just the way I am.
All right. I mean, you got to project. That's kind of part about being an actor. So you think you speak from the diaphragm or something like that?
Yeah. When I speak from my diaphragm, then I'm more likely to spit when I talk.
Okay. So I guess that is a way that you are a lot like a llama.
There you go. They also speak from their diaphragms.
Yeah. How was your purchase on ledges, on like high ledges?
Oh, fantastic. I love to climb things, and I love to climb. So I am not it is not unlike me to go and sit on a high ledge. So was that a YouTube video that you're referring to?
No, I think it's just like a llama thing. Like they're always up there. Is that a thing? Yeah, they're up in the mountains and in Chile, it's kind of their thing.
The Andes Mountains.
Yeah, they're like mountain goats a little bit.
Okay, then yes, I would also love to climb mountains.
All right, so those are two big ways that you are like a llama. Yeah, I guess.
And I have 4 feet, so just like one.
And then we get to the final question from Todd, and the question that Todd poses to you is, what was your most disastrous performance on stage?
Okay, so I was in a play that was set in a museum, and we had a choir. This is when I was in college. So it was a crossover event between the theater program and the choir, and we had both groups had rehearsed their parts, but we hadn't rehearsed together, and so we had kind of like a 3 times in a row we had a problem where either we left the stage and they didn't come up to sing their next bit, or where they came up and then we weren't done yet, and then the third time. We left the stage, they came up, but they had run out of songs to sing and they didn't have anything to sing. So it was like just the whole show was just derailed. Like it was very obviously bad, which thankfully it was a small audience and it wasn't at the college. So none of the overseers got to see how terribly we had represented our school. And then, to top it all off, so set in a museum, and it was myself and this other guy named Tyler. We had these very regal Renaissance costumes, the big puffy shoulders, big wide hips, berets. And we were meant to walk out nice and slowly, all poised and regal, and then strike these poses as these – it was kind of like a – not Night at the Museum. Like it wasn't a comedy, but this idea that these exhibits were coming to life and then – freezing again, etc. So we walked out, we freeze all nice and regally, and the audience just bursts out laughing. And it's not a comedy, it's not funny, and I'm wearing this huge nice costume that I had just spent 10 minutes putting on, and I was like, in my head, I was like, oh no, my fly is undone. Crap, my fly is undone. And the audience just keeps laughing, and I'm like, oh man, like I don't know what's taking out. Like there it does. So this statue, which is all frozen regally, comes unfrozen, takes a huge, like I bent at the waist, looked down at my crotch, and then straightened back up and froze again. There's no fly on that pants. So this statue came unfroze, stared at my crotch. Everybody saw that. What they were laughing at, and apparently Tyler, the other guy, had not been able to find his black stockings. And so the pants we were wearing just came down past the knee, and then there were these nice black stockings that came up. He couldn't find his stockings, so he just grabbed the socks that he was wearing and yanked them really high. So there's like an inch between the top of his sock and his pants. So he's got this beautiful costume, and then an inch of hairy white leg, and then like a gray sock with a big red heel, and now the red heel is like floating halfway up his shin, right?
Yeah.
So he looked like a doofus for the bottom 10%. Everyone's laughing at this, and I'm staring at my crotch, and then and then the choir probably came up right after that and not saying anything. Like it was a bad show.
Sounds disastrous.
That was in Saskatoon, so if anyone saw that, I'm so sorry.
Sorry to our Saskatoon listeners who were at that show.
Not good. Not great. But I performed like about 200 times a year, so I have lots of bad shows. They happen.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, doing it 200 nights, they can't all be gems.
I have a lot of good stories from we do a lot of nursing homes and seniors homes, nursing homes, and care homes. Those are often very different, but especially the care homes, if you're in like a dementia ward or an Alzheimer's ward, that's a very unique experience, which going in, and it's just like you're just there to be a blessing, like just to love on people, and it's all in fun. I'm not too worried about the show going particularly perfectly, but I had a guy walk up onto the stage one time with his chair, and he set it down right in the middle of the stage facing the audience, and then just sat there for the second half of the show. And so we just kind of performed around him. But that's more just fun. Like that's, funny to us. And like, we got a kick out of it.
He was part of the show too.
Yeah. He was just having a good time. But I remember, and the same thing, a different nursing home, there was a lady who every time someone said a line, just every couple seconds, she was like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up." So there was like the full like 60 minutes or whatever.
Wow.
Like this woman was just shouting "shut up" at us the whole time, which like same thing. Like bless her heart, I'm happy to be there. Like, you know, that's not a problem, but it's just a funny thing.
Yeah, she didn't ask for you guys to be there.
No, and that's just the reality of that stage in life. And if you're, you know, struggling with Alzheimer's or whatever she had, like, and that's all right. We're happy to be there. But it's very amusing as a cast member. It's not necessarily the most high quality performance, but that's not the purpose of it either. So
yeah, and you know, I gotta say, it's very nice of you to do this thing where you're sort of like focusing on, like you're saying, more underprivileged communities and places where they might not have access to performances like that, and people coming in, and it's very nice. So, you know, I applaud you for your choice of following that course in your life, and we'll see what the next thing is, but. This part was very nice. It was very nice of you to do that.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a good time.
Been a great time, just like this podcast. Let's keep it going. Thanks to the Todd Williams for those great questions. And now we get to the next question from Roxy Horror at RoxyQT on Twitter. And the question is, if you saw a raccoon shoplift, would you tell the police or would you let it slide?
Just for you, Roxy, I'd let it slide.
Just for you. Big fan of raccoons. You got to go check her out in her new comic about creatures of the night. So go check that out at RoxyQT on Twitter. And I think that's a good answer.
Yeah, historically, I have very much disliked raccoons. And I've said that to Roxy before. My parents live in Muskoka, which I mentioned earlier, and which is not where I grew up, but they live there now. And raccoons everywhere, obviously, similar to Toronto, but worse. And I despise raccoons. But Roxy has, given me a new view.
Yeah,
she is the queen of the raccoons, and I respect that. So I'm willing to, accept the little trash bandits or whatever you call them.
Yeah, trash pandas.
Yeah. Not traditionally a big fan, but
for you, Roxy. Yeah, it's okay.
I'll let it slide.
Let it slide. All right, and we got a weird follow-up to Roxy's question from a different person. Robert Dandridge asks, replace raccoon with person. Does your answer change?
Absolutely not. How dare you suggest that I would condone crime?
No condoning. Wait, you are condoning crime.
I mean...
let it slide. You're going to let it slide both ways.
Shoot.
So yes, your answer does change?
Yes, my answer changes.
All right, let's get our narc on.
Unless it was Roxy, the queen of raccoons, in which case I would still let it.
All right, well, thank you to Roxy and, I guess, Robert for the questions. And we got a few more here. We got a couple more questions before we start to wind it down. All right, first question here comes from Mowgli at Howley_Mowgli on Twitter. Very funny person on there. You got to follow him. All right, the question is, why did you decide to grow a mustache? Or were you born with it?
I was born with it.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Yep.
You were born with it. That must have tickled on the way out.
I had a tweet for a while that was like, where did you get your handle from? And I quote tweeted and I was like, I was born wearing a tuxedo. It nearly killed my mother. Something like that.
Yeah.
And same with the mustache. No, the truth, and this is embarrassing, to be honest, but I was 20 years old. I was running my own company. I had multiple drama teams out and around, and I was performing with them and booking shows for them and running the finances. And I'm not a business major, like I'm not. And so everywhere I went, every night, some well-intentioned person was pulling me aside and being like, "Are you sure you're up for this challenge? Like, I'm overseeing all these people, all these other people. Many of them are older than me. People were trying to give me advice and help me out, and I just was like, you know what, I'm fine." Which in hindsight, actually, like I really should have taken their advice. I was young and immature, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I felt like I did. And so my dad had done a similar thing because he looks like he's 13 without facial hair, so he has always had a goatee. And so I grew a beard, but my beard was super gross and patchy, so I made it into a mustache. So it was literally to look older, which actually is kind of embarrassing now. I'm ashamed to admit that, but that's the honest truth. Is I I grew it when I started this company because people thought that I was a kid, which I was. But you know what? There you go.
And that's what kids do to look older. You grow that mustache. You're 17, you can grow a mustache. You might be able to get a beer. So that's
exactly right.
I mean, it's a great technique. And like I mentioned earlier, I gave it a try, and I did notice a difference. So it does do something. Like people don't think you're 25 or whatever, or 17, depending on how clean shaven your face is. But yeah, it's a good. I mean, it works. Let's say that.
Recommend it to every listener of this pod.
Everyone, show us your pictures of your mustache at FOTS Pod on Twitter. All right, we have finally made it to the final question. Thank you to everyone who has submitted a question to at FOTS Pod on Twitter. We couldn't have all these questions without you asking the questions, and that is really great. So thank you very much to everyone. And the final question today comes to us from James at User James, and that's James with a Y, Jaymes. And James asks, ribbed condoms. Whose pleasure is it really? His or Hoy's?
I say, if you really want pleasure, you should bring actual ribs.
Okay.
Chow down. I would say like, eating ribs is more.
You mean like ribbed condoms,
way.
like the condoms covered in barbecue sauce, or what do you mean?
No, I'm saying, skip the sex altogether and just eat ribs together, and you'll both be pleasured.
Okay, that's the trick.
That's the trick.
Ribs,
eat ribs
for your pleasure.
Yes.
Well,
that's my recommendation. User James also has a great mustache, by the way.
Oh, yeah. User James got a great mustache. I've only recently been introduced to this account, but it's very funny, and the mustache is good, and long hair, flowing locks out the back.
Yes. I wish I could grow up. I'm balding on the top. I used to have long hair, and it just became disgusting, and now I have to keep it short because the longer it gets, the more apparent it is that I'm balding.
Uh-oh.
And I miss it. I wish I could grow a beautiful mane.
Do you got a plan for that? Do you got a plan for what you're going to do? Are you gonna go full bald? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna have to before too long.
Yeah.
I think I can still hide it right now as long as my hair is nice and short. But yeah, sooner or later I'll have to shave it all off.
All right. Well, looking forward to that. So.
I might just roll with like the monk cut. Like I might.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I get it.
Like my grandfather, but 40 years sooner.
Okay. Yeah. Just keep that sweet back part.
Yeah. The weird comb over thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could tackle it. So, can't wait to see what you come up with.
Yes, I've had a history of bad and interesting haircuts, which I have documented a little bit on Twitter. But initially, when I had first went from long hair to short, I had a mullet in between, which I did right before I got my driver's license photo taken, which was intentional. That was when I moved to Manitoba. And so my driver's license photo has this beautiful – I waxed my mustache straight out like Salvador Dali, and then I have this mullet that my friend Caleb gave me just freehand. Like his clippers didn't have a guard or anything, so it's like it's crooked and bad. We live streamed it, and that was a great experience. And then it was maybe like 6 months after that I was at a barber school, and she asked me what I wanted, and I didn't care because I really don't care about my hair. And I was like, why don't you experiment the most ridiculous thing you haven't tried yet? And she ended up shaving a lightning bolt in the side of my head, which she screwed up. It looked really bad. It didn't really look like a lightning bolt. It was huge and awkward. It was terrible.
To be fair, it was a school. She was still learning.
Oh, yeah. And I knew when you sit down, when you go in, they tell you that, right?
Yeah.
You make it clear that, they might screw up. Which
I don't know if everybody knows about that hack that you can go to barber school and get a cheap or free haircut.
Yeah, and it was free, so I have no complaints. That night I had to perform in like a really, really conservative Mennonite church, and in Red Deer, Alberta. And so I ended up putting on a toque and just like I wore my toque the whole show. Which we were doing like I forget what we were doing, a story of the settlers maybe, or like it was some period piece, and I just in that context I honestly thought it was better to like just wear a toque and look like an idiot, look like a punk kid, than to take it off and be like, look at this weird looking bald spot on the side of my head.
Well, I think you made the right choice.
Yeah, Chalk that up on my list of bad performances.
Just another night on the stage. Well, Kevin, I think we done did it. I think we done did a podcast. And I would like to thank you for joining me this week. I would like to thank you for supporting the podcast for so long and sending great questions in for all the other friends of the show. And now you're officially one of them. Friend of the show.
Thank you.
Llama in a
Thank you
Tux.
for having me.
Well, thank you. And now we'll do the thing where we say goodbye and I play the theme. So goodbye and thank you.
Still such a jaunty tune.
What a jaunty tune. You're playing funky beat over my wisdom?
I love Shug. I love that. Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode with Kevin. Do follow at Llama in a Tux on Twitter for great jokes and on Instagram for great pictures of those jokes. He is nice, and you definitely don't want to miss out on meeting up with him when he comes to your city. Fans of the podcast, follow at FOTS Pod on Twitter. Mention this episode for a free follow back. Follow the account at Skinner Steven as a gag. It'll be hilarious. And if you want more friends of the show, you can always head over to www.stephenwskinner.com for all of the old episodes, or check us out on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, I'm saying wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you to Ruby Coast for the music. Thank you to Kyle I. Davidson for the theme. And thank you very much for listening. I am Stephen W. Skinner, and have a great one.